Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. My mother and I talk about, and have talked about, Maitreya and these masters off and on for years. And if you knew my mother, she's a very moderate type of thinker. Politically, she's kind of the middle of the road. She votes Republican every once in a while, votes Democrat every once in a while. Doesn't really, she's not a card-carrying whatever, right? Religiously, she's a Methodist. And if you know anything about Methodists, they're pretty moderate in their views. I'm sure they have their own hardcore fundamentalists, but for the most part, most Methodists that I've ever met, we're pretty almost agnostic in a way. You live a good life, it is what it is, you know what I mean? So they kind of let everybody else do their thing, and they do their thing. They're not out there just beating the streets, trying to convert people to Methodism, but so that's kind of her take on it. Now, she will say this. She does agree with a lot of, and she'll say, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Not everything, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but, about Maitreya. But the one thing she always says is that there's a striking similarity between the qualities of the way I describe Maitreya, my Maitreya experiences, or just from reading Benjamin Creme to, what she knows about Jesus by reading the Bible. Now, there's a reason why, is because they're, Jesus back in the day and even now, and Maitreya are all living the truth that we're all one. So, I mean, every one of these masters, from the Master Akuzi, the Master Kuthumi, to the Master Moria, Hilarion, whatever, right? All these masters are living that same principle and that same truth, that we're one. That's what makes them a master. They live it moment to moment. So you'll find striking similarities within all the masters, even though they're different personalities. You know what I mean? They have the same, they hold the same truth, and they live the same truth, that we're one. They know it, right? So that's why there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up my mother in this conversation is, even though my mother doesn't necessarily subscribe to all this, she's actually had a couple Maitreya experiences, or a Maitreya experience and a Master Jesus experience, okay? And the way that the Master Jesus communicated to her was a very common way that the masters communicate with somebody, which is through a dream. And out of all the dreams that somebody has in their lifetime, which is basically just a bunch of garbage, right? There's this one dream that stands out in a person's, life. They're like, wow, that's the one. You know what I'm saying? That's the dream that really made the difference, right? And my mom just happened to have this kind of experience. And I asked Benjamin Creme, and he goes, I was thinking it was Maitreya. And she said, no. He said, no, it was actually the Master Jesus who gave her this dream experience. But this was during the time when my parents were going through the divorce, and I was quite young. My brother was a little bit older than me, but we were just acting up, as the way kids are. We didn't care either, about my mother and how concerned and stressed out my mother was, and we sure as heck weren't cleaning the kitchen and making our beds any better, So my mom had to deal with all that crap, and then financially things were tough for her and all that kind of stuff because she's a school teacher and so forth. So she was going through a really tough time, and she did for many years, and she said that she was, like everybody, I just want to give up, right? And she probably was really serious about that in some regards, right? But she had this dream at that moment when she was at her lowest moment in her life. And this guy comes to her. She said he was a very nice looking man in her dream. He had red hair and blue eyes. And he reaches out his hands to my mother in the dream and says, Linda, even though we can't be together, I just want to let you know that I love you for who you are. And it changed my mom's life, really, that one dream. And you might remember having a dream such as this. Maybe not the exact same thing, but, something that really impacted your life in that way. And then the other thing was kind of funny was, some years ago, my mom always visits for Christmas, and she lives in South Carolina. And she got here a few days before Christmas, and we're, of course, sitting on the couch talking about life or whatever. And she starts talking about how rude the world has gotten over the years. People just, will cut you off, right? You're walking into the store and somebody just cut you right off, close the door right in front of you. And just, you're just kind of like left with this, what the heck, man? And then she even said that, she'll say hello to somebody. She always has to be the one to say hello first. Nobody says hello, and she was going through this whole thing. This is my mom telling me this, right? And I've experienced a lot of this too. So it's not just an age thing, right? But, I'll say hello to somebody. They'll look at me right in the face. They're within earshot. They're within just a few feet of me, and I say, hello, how are you? And they turn around and walk away. I'm like, wow, I feel like a total jackass. You know what I'm saying? But, it is what it is, right? This is the world we're living in. So she was kind of in one of those kind of moods, right, for this Christmas, a few days before this Christmas. And Christmas Day, after we had opened the presents and had our lunch or whatever, we went to the movies because it's a good day to go see the movie, right? So we went to the movie. And the movie theater that we go to has an elevator in it because you have a couple parking structure levels, and then you got the main level, and then the theater is actually on the top level. So I think there's like 3 or 4 stops on the elevator. And my wife and my daughter, my mom and I get out of the car and we go to the inn, and there's hardly anybody there for it being a Christmas showing. And I guess we got there kind of early, and we're in the elevator, and then the elevator door opens and this black woman gets in, and she's decked out to the nines in this purple outfit from head to toe. Purple hat, purple scarf, purple dress, purple this, purple that, all the way down to her shoes were purple. And it made this woman's skin glow. And she looked like she was, I couldn't really tell her age, but she looked like she was, a senior citizen on some level. And so keep in mind, my mom had just said something about how she always had to be the one to say hello first, right? So this woman the elevator door opens up, this woman comes in, and she looks and smiles at me, right? And then she looks right smack dab at my mother and goes, hello? Just like that, right? And my mom's leaning up against the rail, and she just all of a sudden catches herself, and she goes, hi. And then this woman proceeds to go right over to my mother. I mean, you talk about violating a personal space. I mean, she goes right to my mother. And my mother is not one of these huggy, touchy kind of people either. I mean, she's okay, but she's moderate about that too, right? So here this woman goes right to her space. And my mom felt totally relaxed and at ease about it, right? And it was so funny. And my mom was like, oh, you just look so beautiful in that purple. I wish I could wear that, but I am too old to be wearing something like that. And the lady looks at her, she goes, how old do you think I am? Right? And right when she says that, she looks at me, smiles, and winks at me, right? And this happens to be Maitreya, because I asked Benjamin Creme, he said, yeah, it was Maitreya. But anyway, so she goes, how old do you think I am? And I'm just laughing because I had a feeling who this person was. And my mom goes, I have no idea, right? And then the lady goes, I'm 77. She goes, age is all in the mind, right? And then she got really close to my mom and started whispering something in her ear that I don't remember what they said. But anyway, and then she got out of the elevator. She wished us all a great Christmas and then left, right? And it was one of those kind of things. And it goes along hand in hand with what I was just speaking about in a previous video, where Maitreya could have been given a television interview in some part of the world at that time while he was healing somebody else, doing this, doing that, saving the world from some cosmic event as he deflected a comet or a meteor that was headed this way to whatever, right? To talking to a disciple and in one part of the world, overshadowing them as he sent this familiar that he created for my mother that had a tiny little bit of his consciousness in there, and he was speaking to my mother through this person. It wasn't a person that you could track. It was the creation of Maitreya that did this, a familiar, a guise of who Maitreya is. Didn't look like Maitreya, just happened to be, look like a African-American woman in her 70s, right? But was, very real physically, right? But they can create those kind of things. But it totally made my mom's Christmas, or more. And she still to this day talks about that lady. But remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.